Let's talk to God.
When everything inside feels like it's quietly giving way, when the strength you once leaned on seems to have slipped through your fingers, you remain present in the fragile space where I can no longer hold myself together, seeing the cracks I try to hide and the exhaustion I no longer know how to explain. And even here you do not rush me. You do not demand answers. You simply stay, steady and unshaken, holding what feels too heavy for my own soul to carry, knowing that this inward collapse is not failure, but the moment where pretense finally falls silent, where the heart admits it is tired of pretending to be strong, tired of standing upright while everything inside bends. And in this surrender without words, you cradle what is breaking with a gentleness that does not shame the weakness, because you were never intimidated by fragile faith or trembling hope. You understand the quiet moments when prayer feels like breathing rather than speaking, when belief is no longer loud but still alive. And if you are here with me now, stay close and let me rest in the safety of your presence, even while everything inside feels undone, because I am learning that being held matters more than being whole, and that even in this inward unraveling, your hands have not let go. As the weight settles deeper and the mind searches for something solid to lean on, you meet me not with urgency, but with patience, allowing the silence to stretch without fear, knowing that some wounds surface only when the noise finally fades, and in this stillness, you gather the scattered pieces of thought, the doubts, the quiet questions that never found language, and you hold them without judgment, teaching me that collapse does not mean abandonment, that falling inward can be the doorway to being supported in ways I never allowed before, because I spent so long believing faith had to be firm and unshaken, never admitting how often it trembled under the surface. Yet here you are, steady beneath the shaking, reminding my soul that even weakened trust is still trust, and even whispered hope still reaches you. And if you sense my heart hesitating now, draw nearer and let me feel your nearness without having to explain myself. Because I am discovering that surrender is not the end of strength, but the place where strength is quietly rebuilt, layer by layer, breath by breath, under the shelter of your care, where nothing is demanded except honesty, and nothing is lost in your presence. As the inner tension loosens its grip just enough to breathe again, you remain attentive to the subtle shifts within me, aware of the moments when relief feels unfamiliar and vulnerability feels exposed, and you do not rush me past this fragile stage, because you know how easily the heart wants to retreat back into control, into habits of self-protection that once felt safe. Yet you stay, gently anchoring me when I begin to doubt whether it is allowed to rest, reminding me that I do not need to rebuild myself before coming closer, that I do not need to present a healed version of my soul to be welcomed, for you draw near precisely when the edges are raw and the strength is thin, teaching me that being supported does not make me smaller but freer, and that trusting you with what feels unstable does not weaken faith, but deepens it. And if you sense the hesitation rising again, the quiet urge to pull away and manage this alone, hold me here a little longer and let me learn the unfamiliar comfort of being carried without conditions. Because in this place of gentle dependence, my heart is beginning to understand that safety is not found in holding everything together, but in allowing you to hold me as I am. As this quiet dependence begins to settle into something steady, you remain aware of how unfamiliar peace can feel after so much inner strain, how the soul sometimes mistrusts calm because it has learned to survive on tension, and you stay patient while I adjust to this gentler rhythm, reassuring me that rest does not mean danger, and softness does not invite loss, because you are present even when nothing is being fixed or explained, even when all I can do is exist honestly before you, And in this space you begin to mend what words never reached, touching the hidden fractures formed by long seasons of endurance, reminding my heart that survival is not the same as living, and that you are not merely rescuing me from collapse, but guiding me toward wholeness that grows quietly, without force, without spectacle. And if you see the part of me that fears this calm will disappear as quickly as it came, draw my attention to your constancy and let me trust that your presence is not temporary or fragile, because I am learning that the deepest healing does not announce itself loudly. It unfolds slowly under steady care, and in this unfolding, my soul is discovering that it is safe to breathe again. As awareness returns to the places that once felt numb, you notice how easily the heart braces itself for impact, expecting the familiar weight to return without warning, and you do not dismiss that caution, because you know how deeply it was learned, yet you gently teach me that vigilance does not have to rule every moment, that I am allowed to experience lightness without immediately preparing for loss. And in this careful reawakening, you guide my attention to the quiet strength forming beneath the surface, not loud or forceful, but resilient in its calm, reminding me that endurance does not always look like pushing forward. Sometimes it looks like staying present, staying open, staying honest with what still aches. And if you sense my thoughts drifting back to old fears, old patterns of self-reliance that once kept me upright, meet me there and invite me to lean again into your steadiness, because I am learning that trust grows not through grand declarations, but through repeated moments of choosing to remain, choosing to breathe, choosing to believe that your support does not waver when my confidence does. And in this steady choosing, my soul is beginning to feel grounded in something deeper than fear. As this grounding settles more deeply, you remain attentive to the quiet echoes that still move through me, the memories of strain that surface unexpectedly and test whether this stability is real. And you do not grow impatient with these returns, because you understand that healing is not linear, and trust is rebuilt through repetition, through showing up again and again in moments when doubt resurfaces. And you stay with me as I relearn how to inhabit my own heart without fear, guiding me to notice how your presence does not fluctuate with my emotions, how you remain steady even when my inner world shifts, reminding me that I am not required to feel strong in order to be supported. And if you see me questioning whether this calm can last, whether I will have the strength to face what comes next, draw me closer and let me rest in the certainty that your care is not dependent on my ability to anticipate the future, because I am learning that security is not found in controlling what lies ahead, but in trusting that whatever comes, I will not face it alone. And in this trust, my soul is slowly releasing the need to brace itself against tomorrow. As tomorrow no longer feels like an immediate threat, you guide my attention back into the present moment, where my breath is steady and your nearness is tangible, teaching me that life does not have to be lived in constant anticipation of collapse, that I am allowed to experience this moment without guarding it. And you remain gentle as I practice staying here, because you know how unfamiliar peace can feel after long seasons of inner unrest. Yet you do not withdraw when I falter, when my thoughts wander back to worries that once consumed me. Instead, you patiently redirect my heart, reminding me that being held does not require perfect focus, only willingness. And if you notice the part of me that still believes calm must be earned through effort or endurance, speak softly to that place and let it learn that your presence is a gift, not a reward. Because I am discovering that grace meets me not at the finish line, but right here in the middle of becoming. And in this steady presence, my soul is learning how to remain open without fear, trusting that even if the ground shifts again, I will be supported in ways deeper than before. As this openness becomes more familiar, you remain attentive to the subtle resistance that still surfaces, the quiet urge to take control again when uncertainty brushes against the edges of peace. and you do not confront it harshly, because you know how long that reflex protected me. Yet you gently show me another way of staying steady, one that does not rely on tightening the grip, but on softening it, allowing trust to do what effort never could. And in this learning, you reveal how being held is not passive but deeply active, requiring courage to remain receptive, courage to let support replace self-strain. And if you sense the moment when my heart hesitates between old habits and this new posture of trust, draw me a little closer and let me feel the reassurance of your steadiness beneath the uncertainty. Because I am discovering that strength does not disappear when control loosens. It transforms, becoming quieter, more rooted, more resilient. And in this transformation, my soul is beginning to understand that true stability is not something I manufacture, but something I receive as I stay present with you. As this quieter strength settles in, you continue to watch over the places that still feel tender, aware of how easily the soul can confuse vulnerability with danger. And you stay near while I learn the difference, teaching me that openness in your presence is not exposure, but refuge, not risk, but rest. And you allow me to move at a pace that feels safe, never forcing growth, never rushing trust. Because you know that what lasts is built gently. And in this patience you begin to untangle the belief that I must always be ready, always alert, always braced, showing me instead that it is possible to be awake without being anxious, attentive without being afraid. And if you notice the moment when my heart wonders whether this gentleness will truly hold under pressure, invite me to remain here a little longer and let your consistency answer what words cannot. Because I am learning that faith does not have to shout to be strong, and that even in silence, even in softness, your presence is enough to keep me steady. As this steadiness begins to feel less fragile, you remain aware of how easily old doubts attempt to reinterpret calm as temporary, as though peace must always justify itself. And you meet those doubts with quiet reassurance rather than argument, letting your presence speak where explanations would only stir more questions. And in this reassurance, you help me recognize how deeply the fear of collapse shaped my thinking, teaching me to expect loss even in moments of safety. Yet you do not shame that instinct. You patiently reshape it, showing me that I am allowed to trust what is good without immediately preparing for its end. And if you notice my heart testing this peace, waiting for the moment it might slip away, draw me gently back into awareness of your nearness and let me rest in the truth that you are not provisional or uncertain. Because I am learning that stability grows when I stop measuring it and start inhabiting it. When I allow your constancy to redefine what security feels like. And in this quiet inhabiting, my soul is beginning to loosen its grip on fear and settle into a trust that no longer needs to prove itself. As this trust deepens, you continue to tend to the inner spaces that learn to survive by staying guarded, aware of how instinctively the heart scans for danger even when none is present, and you do not force those habits away, because you know they were formed in moments when protection felt necessary. Yet you gently invite me to notice that I am no longer alone in watching over myself, that your care does not lapse when my attention drifts. And in this shared vigilance, you begin to ease the burden I carried for so long, reminding me that I do not have to anticipate every outcome or prepare for every possibility. And if you sense my thoughts circling familiar worries, rehearsing scenarios that may never arrive, meet me there and draw me back into the quiet truth that your presence is already ahead of me, already surrounding what I have not yet seen. Because I am learning that peace is not the absence of uncertainty, but the presence of trust within it. And in this presence, my soul is discovering a freedom that does not depend on certainty, only on staying close to you. As this freedom begins to take root, You remain attentive to how the heart tests new ground carefully, unsure whether it is truly safe to step forward without armor. And you do not rush that process, because you understand how long it took to build the walls that once felt necessary. Yet you gently show me that moving without them does not leave me unprotected. It places me within a different kind of shelter, one shaped by trust rather than defense. And in this shelter, you help me notice the subtle shifts within, how my thoughts no longer race as quickly toward worst outcomes, how my body responds with less tension, less urgency, and if you sense my mind drifting back toward old patterns, questioning whether this ease is deserved or wise, draw me back into awareness of your steady presence and let it ground me again, because I am learning that peace does not weaken awareness, it clarifies it, allowing me to respond rather than react, to remain open without being overwhelmed. And in this clarity, my soul is beginning to experience a sense of safety that feels both unfamiliar and deeply true. As this sense of safety settles more naturally, you continue to meet me in the quieter moments where nothing dramatic is happening, where the soul is no longer collapsing, but simply learning how to live without constant strain. And you remain present even here, showing me that your care is not reserved for crisis alone, that you do not withdraw once the urgency fades. And in this steady companionship, you help me recognize how much of my life was shaped by holding my breath, by bracing for impact that never fully arrived yet always felt imminent. And if you notice me waiting for the old heaviness to return, scanning my inner world for signs of trouble, gently remind me that I am allowed to experience steadiness without suspicion, because I am learning that peace does not require constant monitoring to survive. It grows when it is trusted, when it is given space to breathe. And in this trusting, my soul is beginning to discover a rhythm that is not driven by fear or effort, but by the quiet confidence that I am not carrying myself alone anymore. As this new rhythm continues to form, you remain sensitive to how easily the heart confuses stillness with emptiness, mistaking the absence of struggle for the absence of meaning. And you gently correct that fear by staying present in the ordinary moments, reminding me that depth is not always loud, and transformation is not always dramatic. And in this calm continuity, you help me see how much of my worth was once tied to endurance, to surviving difficulty rather than receiving care. Yet you patiently loosen that connection, teaching me that my value is not proven by how much I can withstand, but revealed by how fully I allow myself to be loved. And if you sense the quiet question rising again, wondering whether I am becoming passive or weak in this gentleness, draw me closer and let me feel how your strength flows most clearly when I stop resisting it, because I am learning that rest can be an act of trust, that openness can be a form of courage, and that in allowing myself to be held without effort, my soul is beginning to experience a fullness that does not depend on struggle, but on staying connected to you. As this fullness settles quietly into my awareness, you remain attentive to the subtle moments when the heart begins to question its own peace, wondering if it has overlooked something, if calm means something has been missed, and you meet that uncertainty with patience rather than correction, allowing me to sit with it until it softens on its own. And in this gentle companionship, you help me recognize how deeply vigilance once defined my sense of safety, how constant scanning felt responsible, even faithful. Yet you show me that trust is not carelessness. It is confidence in your steadiness. And if you notice my thoughts tightening again, preparing to resume old patterns of control, draw me back into this quiet awareness of your nearness, and let me rest here a moment longer, because I am learning that being present does not make me unprepared. It makes me grounded, and that grounding allows me to respond with clarity rather than fear. And in this groundedness, my soul is beginning to understand that peace is not fragile when it is rooted in you. It is resilient, capable of holding both calm and challenge without collapsing, and that realization is slowly reshaping how I move through each moment. As this reshaping continues beneath the surface, you remain close to the parts of me that are still learning how to trust change, aware of how unsettling it can feel when familiar tension loosens and the soul no longer recognizes itself by strain. And you do not rush me through that unfamiliarity, because you know how identity can become tangled with endurance. Yet you gently invite me to discover who I am when I am not bracing, not proving, not surviving. And in this discovery, you help me notice how your presence fills the spaces where effort once lived, offering guidance that feels steady rather than urgent. And if you sense the quiet fear that without pressure I might lose direction or purpose, draw me nearer and let me feel how your care provides orientation without force. Because I am learning that being led does not require constant struggle. It requires attentiveness. And in this attentiveness, my soul is beginning to sense a deeper alignment, one where movement flows from trust rather than fear, and where even uncertainty no longer feels like collapse, but like an invitation to stay close and continue forward with you. As this alignment grows quieter and more natural, you stay attentive to the moments when fatigue resurfaces without warning, when the body remembers old limits before the mind can name them. And you do not interpret that weariness as regression, because you understand how deeply exhaustion can be stored, yet you meet it with the same steadiness, reminding me that needing rest again does not erase what has been healed. And in this reassurance, you help me release the pressure to measure progress, to track every shift as proof that something is working, showing me instead that growth can be trusted without constant evaluation. And if you notice my heart searching for signs that I am doing this correctly, draw me gently back to the simplicity of being here with you, and let me feel how your presence does not depend on performance or precision, because I am learning that healing is not a task to complete, but a relationship to remain in, one that holds me through strength and tiredness alike. And in this remaining, my soul is beginning to rest in the freedom of knowing that I do not have to arrive anywhere to be fully supported right now. As this freedom settles into something steady and lived in, you remain aware of how easily the heart can drift into quiet self-doubt, questioning whether this sense of being held is truly sustainable or merely a pause before strain returns. And you meet that doubt without alarm, because you know how unfamiliar consistency can feel after long seasons of inner instability. Yet you stay present, letting your calm answer questions that words never could. And in this steady presence, you teach me that safety does not come from predicting every outcome, but from knowing where to turn when uncertainty appears. And if you sense my thoughts wandering toward old fears, rehearsing what might go wrong instead of resting in what is, draw me gently back into awareness of this moment and let me feel how your support does not fluctuate with my confidence, because I am learning that trust matures not by eliminating doubt, but by choosing closeness even when doubt whispers. And in this choosing, my soul is beginning to understand that being held is not a fragile state. It is a reliable one, capable of carrying me through whatever unfolds next without the need to harden or withdraw. As this reliability becomes something my soul begins to recognize, you remain attentive to the quieter longings that surface, now that survival no longer dominates every thought. The gentle questions about meaning, direction, and purpose that were once buried beneath the urgency of holding everything together. And you do not overwhelm me with answers, because you know that clarity grows best in safety, not pressure. Yet you stay close as these questions breathe, reminding me that it is enough to remain open rather than certain, attentive rather than resolved. And if you notice my heart wondering whether it is allowed to desire more than stability, whether hope can exist without fear of collapse, draw me nearer and let me feel how your presence makes space not only for rest but for renewal. because I am learning that being held does not end the journey. It prepares me to continue it with gentleness, with discernment, with a trust that no longer depends on bracing against loss. And in this preparation, my soul is beginning to sense that what lies ahead does not need to be fully known to be safely approached, only entrusted to you as I keep walking in this quiet closeness. As this quiet closeness continues to shape the way I move forward, you remain mindful of how the heart can still hesitate at the threshold of new beginnings, unsure whether it truly deserves to step into life without the familiar weight of strain. And you do not push me past that hesitation, because you know how deeply the soul learned to associate worth with effort and survival. Yet you gently affirm that I am not stepping forward because I have proven myself strong enough, but because you are present enough to sustain me. And in this affirmation, you help me notice how courage is no longer rising from pressure, but from trust. How movement no longer feels like escape, but like response. And if you sense my thoughts asking whether I might falter again, whether weakness might return when least expected, meet me in that question and let me rest in the truth that returning to you is not failure, it is relationship. Because I am learning that stability does not mean never bending. It means knowing where I am held when I do. And in this knowing, my soul is beginning to approach what comes next, not with fear or force, but with a growing confidence that even uncertainty cannot undo the care that surrounds me now. As this confidence continues to form quietly within me, you remain attentive to the subtle ways the heart tests what it has learned, noticing how it sometimes looks back at old versions of itself with a mix of relief and disbelief, wondering how it survived so long without rest. And you do not let that reflection turn into regret, because you know every season carried its own purpose. Yet you gently guide me to stay rooted in what is unfolding now, teaching me that growth does not require revisiting pain to justify healing. And if you sense my thoughts drifting toward comparison, measuring who I was against who I am becoming, draw me back into the steadiness of your presence and let me feel how your care remains constant across every version of me. Because I am learning that identity is not something I must defend or explain. It is something that unfolds as I stay close to you, and in this unfolding my soul is beginning to feel less defined by what it endured, and more by what it is now allowed to receive, trusting that this quiet becoming is not fragile or temporary, but gently sustained by your hands. As this becoming continues without urgency, you remain close to the places where fear once dictated every decision, aware of how deeply the habit of bracing shaped my instincts, and you patiently help me notice when those instincts rise, not to shame them, but to soften them, reminding me that I no longer have to live in reaction mode, always preparing for what might break, because you are present in what is unfolding now. And in this presence, you teach me that discernment does not require tension, that wisdom can emerge from calm awareness rather than pressure. And if you sense my heart pausing, unsure whether it is truly safe to trust this steadiness, draw me gently into the reassurance of your nearness and let me rest in the truth that you are not surprised by my slowness, because I am learning that healing honors its own pace, and that moving carefully does not mean moving backward. It means moving with care. And in this care, my soul is beginning to feel permission to live without constant defense, to respond to life from a place of grounded trust rather than learned fear, knowing that even when uncertainty appears, I am already held within your steady embrace. As this grounded trust becomes more familiar, you stay present in the subtle moments when the heart begins to imagine life shaped less by survival and more by intention. And you do not overwhelm that imagining with demands or expectations, because you know how fragile hope can feel when it is first allowed to breathe, yet you gently nurture it, reminding me that dreaming again is not a risk but a sign of healing. And in this nurturing, you help me see how your presence does not confine my future, it steadies it, offering a foundation where desire can grow without fear of collapse. And if you sense hesitation rising, the quiet worry that hoping again might invite disappointment, draw me closer and let me feel how your care remains constant, whether hope is fulfilled quickly or unfolds slowly, because I am learning that trust does not depend on outcomes. It depends on relationship. And in this relationship, my soul is beginning to open itself to possibility without the old tension, discovering that even what lies ahead can be approached gently, knowing that whatever unfolds, I will not be navigating it alone, but held in the same steady presence that carried me through the breaking and into this becoming. As this openness to possibility settles into my awareness, you remain attentive to the quieter fears that still linger at the edges of hope, the memories that whisper caution even as the heart leans forward, and you do not silence those voices harshly, because you know they were shaped by moments when hope felt costly. Yet you gently place them within the wider truth of your presence, reminding me that I am no longer carrying desire alone, that longing does not have to be armored to be safe. And in this reassurance, you help me feel how your steadiness holds both anticipation and uncertainty without strain. And if you sense my heart pausing again, unsure whether it is wise to trust this gentler way of living, draw me closer and let me feel how your care does not fluctuate with my courage. Because I am learning that moving forward does not require certainty, it requires closeness, and that closeness transforms fear into discernment rather than paralysis. And in this transformation, my soul is beginning to experience hope, not as pressure to achieve or arrive, but as a quiet confidence that whatever unfolds, I will be met, guided and sustained within your unwavering presence. As this quiet confidence settles more deeply, you remain present with the parts of me that are still learning how to live, without constantly explaining themselves, without justifying rest, without proving resilience. And you gently teach me that I am allowed to exist without defense in your presence, that my worth is not measured by usefulness or endurance, but by relationship. And in this learning, you begin to heal the subtle shame that once accompanied my weakness, the belief that needing support was something to hide. And if you sense my heart still hesitating to fully accept this freedom, still waiting for permission to soften completely, draw me closer and let me feel how your gaze does not evaluate or correct, it simply knows me. Because I am learning that being seen by you does not expose me, it shelters me. And that shelter allows my soul to settle into honesty without fear, releasing the last quiet tensions that linger beneath the surface. And in this release, my inner world is beginning to experience a wholeness that does not come from having everything resolved, but from being fully held, fully known, and gently sustained by your steady, unwavering care. As this sense of being fully known settles into quiet assurance, you remain close as the heart adjusts to a life no longer driven by inner collapse, aware of how strange it can feel to live without the constant urgency that once defined every step. And you do not withdraw now that the breaking has softened, because you were never drawn only to my need, but to my presence. And in this continued closeness, you help me recognize how your care extends beyond rescue into companionship, shaping how I listen, how I choose, how I remain attentive to what is real and alive within me. And if you sense my thoughts wondering whether this gentler way can truly endure when pressures return, draw me nearer and let me remember that you were present in the breaking and you remain present in the rebuilding, because I am learning that your faithfulness is not seasonal. It does not change with my condition, and that knowledge is slowly anchoring my soul in a steadiness that feels honest, sustainable, and deeply grounded, preparing me to move forward not from fear of falling apart again, but from the quiet confidence that whatever comes, I will continue to be met, supported, and guided within your constant, attentive presence. As this steady companionship continues to shape the inner landscape of my life, You remain attentive to the subtle ways I am learning to trust myself again under your care, noticing how decisions begin to feel less reactive and more rooted, less driven by fear and more by discernment. And you do not rush this maturation, because you know how fragile trust can be when it is being rebuilt from the inside out. Yet you stay present as I test my footing, allowing me to move slowly, thoughtfully, without the pressure to get everything right. And if you sense my heart pausing before each step, still listening for echoes of old instability, meet me there and let me feel the quiet reassurance of your nearness. Because I am learning that wisdom grows best where safety is established, and that confidence does not come from certainty, but from knowing I am not alone in choosing. And in this knowing, my soul is beginning to experience a calm clarity that guides me forward gently, teaching me that life can be navigated with openness rather than defense, with trust rather than tension, as I continue walking in this steady closeness with you. As this calm clarity settles into daily awareness, you remain close to the quiet moments when I notice how different it feels to move through life without constant inner noise, without the familiar pressure to anticipate collapse. And you gently help me honor this shift without fearing it, reminding me that peace does not erase depth. It creates space for it to be lived. And in this space, you invite me to listen more carefully to what is unfolding within and around me. Not with urgency, but with attentiveness shaped by trust. And if you sense the part of me that still expects tension to return as proof that something matters, draw me nearer and let me feel how meaning can exist without strain. Because I am learning that your presence gives weight to even the simplest moments, that significance is not born from struggle alone, but from connection. And in this connection, my soul is beginning to experience life as something that can be inhabited fully, gently, without bracing, knowing that even when challenges appear, they will meet a heart that is no longer collapsing inward, but standing quietly supported by you. As this supported standing becomes more familiar, you remain attentive to the gentle vigilance that still lingers, the part of me that checks in quietly to see if the ground will hold. And you do not dismiss that awareness, because you know it is learning a new way to stay present without tightening. Yet you patiently show me how awareness can exist without fear, how attentiveness can be soft rather than sharp. And in this teaching, you help me notice how my breath no longer shortens at the first hint of uncertainty, how my thoughts no longer rush to brace for impact. And if you sense my heart wondering whether this steadiness can remain when life presses harder again, draw me closer and let me feel how your support does not recede under pressure. Because I am learning that being held is not conditional on circumstances, it is relational. And that relationship carries me not only through quiet days, but through demanding ones as well. And in this realization, my soul is beginning to trust that stability does not require perfect conditions, only continued closeness. A closeness that keeps me grounded even when the path ahead bends in ways I cannot yet see. As this closeness continues to anchor me, you remain aware of how the heart slowly relearns trust, not as a concept, but as a lived experience, noticing how confidence now grows quietly from consistency rather than effort. And you stay present as I recognize that I am no longer waiting for collapse as proof that something is real. Because your presence itself has become the constant I return to. And in this returning, you help me see how faith is no longer something I summon in moments of strain, but something that breathes naturally through ordinary days. And if you sense my soul pausing to take this in, surprised by how gently stability has arrived, draw me closer and let me remain here without rushing ahead. Because I am learning that growth does not always announce itself with change I can measure. Sometimes it reveals itself in how calmly I remain, how softly I respond, how deeply I trust that even when life shifts again, I will not be facing it from a place of inner collapse, but from a place already supported, already grounded, already held within your steady, attentive presence. As this grounding becomes something my soul recognizes instinctively, you remain near in the moments when gratitude begins to surface quietly, not as relief from pain alone, but as awareness of how gently you carried me through what I could not name or control. And you allow that gratitude to exist without pressure to turn it into certainty or promise, knowing it is still tender, still forming, yet deeply sincere. And in this sincerity, you help me notice how my inner world no longer feels like a place I must constantly manage or defend, but a space where I can dwell honestly. And if you sense my heart wondering whether this steadiness might fade with time, draw me closer and let me feel how your care does not diminish as seasons change. Because I am learning that being held is not an emotional state that comes and goes. It is a reality that remains even when feelings shift. And in this realization, my soul is beginning to rest, not just in what has healed, but in who you are, trusting that the same presence that sustained me through breaking will continue to sustain me as I keep moving forward, grounded, attentive, and quietly secure in you. As this quiet security settles more deeply into my being, you remain present in the ordinary rhythms of life where trust is tested not by crisis, but by continuity, by days that ask me simply to keep showing up without the intensity that once fueled my faith. And you stay close even here, reminding me that you are not drawn only to moments of breaking or becoming, but to the steady unfolding of my life as it is now. And in this unfolding, you teach me that faith can be lived gently, without urgency, without the need to constantly evaluate whether I am doing enough or believing correctly. And if you sense my heart wondering how to remain connected without the pressure that once drove me forward, draw me nearer and let me feel how your presence sustains relationship without effort. Because I am learning that closeness with you is not maintained by intensity, but by attention, by returning again and again to this shared awareness. And in this returning, my soul is beginning to understand that stability is not something I pass through on the way to something else. It is a place I can inhabit with you, quietly, honestly, and without fear. As this inhabiting becomes more natural, you remain attentive to the subtle moments when the heart reaches for reassurance without even realizing it. And you answer those quiet reaches not with signs or urgency, but with steady presence, reminding me that I do not need constant confirmation to remain connected, because your nearness is not fragile or dependent on how intensely I feel it. And in this steadiness, you help me notice how my inner world no longer collapses when certainty fades, how trust now holds even when emotions are neutral or unclear. And if you sense my soul wondering whether it is still allowed to lean when nothing is visibly wrong, draw me closer and let me feel how your care is not reserved for moments of need alone. Because I am learning that being held is not a response to crisis. It is a way of living, a posture of remaining open and attentive to you in all seasons. And in this posture, my soul is beginning to experience a freedom that does not fluctuate with circumstances, a freedom rooted in the quiet confidence that I am always welcome here, always supported, always gently sustained as I continue forward in this calm, enduring closeness with you. As this enduring closeness continues to shape the way I live and breathe, you remain present even when words fall away, when prayer feels less like speaking and more like simply staying. And you honor that silence as deeply as any plea, knowing that connection does not depend on sound or structure, but on presence shared. And in this shared presence, you help me recognize how far my soul has come, not by measuring distance from pain, but by noticing how gently it now rests, how naturally it leans without fear. And if you sense my heart quietly asking whether this peace is enough, whether life can truly be lived from this softened place, draw me nearer and let me feel how your presence does not diminish purpose. It clarifies it, because I am learning that meaning is not always found in intensity or struggle, but in faithfulness lived quietly, moment by moment. And in this faithfulness, my soul is beginning to understand that stability is not the absence of movement, but the presence of trust that remains steady as life continues to unfold with you. As this trust settles into its deepest place, you remain with me at the center of everything that has shifted, everything that has softened, everything that has been gently restored, and I no longer feel the need to explain how I arrived here. Because being here with you is enough. And if you are still holding me now, let me stay in this closeness and receive what my soul no longer has words to ask for, knowing that nothing inside me is hidden from you and nothing is too fragile to be sustained by your care. And in this final quiet, I feel not an ending but a fullness, a sense of being gathered rather than concluded. And here you bless me with peace that does not depend on strength, with rest that does not require escape, with hope that does not rush ahead of the moment, and with a gentle assurance that as I rise and move forward again, I do so covered, accompanied, and deeply known, carried by your love, steadied by your presence, and surrounded by a grace that will continue to hold me, guide me, and keep me, now and always.
Breathe for a moment. God is here. He wants to hear you. If this touched your heart, subscribe for more.